Hi and welcome back to the channel. And it's taken a little while, however, now it's time to get stuck into the 2022 Safari Rally. Our safari started early in the morning with a breakfast of champions. That's not a regular occurrence. And we headed up to the service park to get ourselves set up while our competitors were out doing recce. There was, however, some time to get in a little bit of exercise on the Chidlow Village Green. So the Safari Rally in October is really getting towards the pointy end of the season. It's only a couple of rallies to go, and in a lot of regards there's a few state championships all hinging on the last couple of events. It could really go either way. Now for us, we had a championship title on the line there with the clubman, with Damien and Gayton in there, so we'll see how they go shortly. Now, amongst our team, we ran 5 cars. We had 2 state cars with Hugh and Karen running this WRX and Tim and John in their yellow WRX, and 3 clubman cars, Tiana and Graham in their Impreza, Glenn and Max in the XL, and of course, Damien Gayton leading the clubman series in their Lancer. This year the safari was dry and dusty in comparison to last year where it was very wet and muddy. And for some of our competitors, well, the whole field in general, it was kind of tricky because they haven't been on the loose ball-bearing gravel of Western Australia for the last 2 seasons really, because it's been pretty wet. So this one to be loose and dusty, it caught a few people out with traction. We'll talk about that a bit further in. And regardless of that, the safari roads are usually pretty rough in a few spots up around Mundaring Weir, and it wasn't anything unusual this year either. So the format this year for the rally was 3 stages run 3 times, and there was about 50 odd cars competing, so that's quite a few cars over the roads, and when it's loose and dusty it doesn't take much to dig those roads up. And our team, along with many others, suffered a few niggling dramas because of those roads. The first of those was Tim and John. In the opening stages they got a bit wide and found a tree. It was only superficial damage and we got it sorted out with a few careful swings of a hammer. In relative terms we were doing well. After being at the pointy end on the first 2 stages, Daniel Gonzalez and Caleb Cash Ash were having trouble with their R5 Skoda. Peter Rullo and Jimmy Marquette were faring no better in their AP4 Peugeot. The list didn't end there, with a string of other cars also retiring in the first group of stages.
Yeah. Thank you, yeah. Going left or right?
Apart from the panel beating, our first service was relatively minor. There were a few knocks and scrapes and bits and pieces to take care of, but most of it was pretty good. Whew. The second group of stages, though, would take a bit of a machete to the field, and that would include our team as well. Here we're on board with Tiana and Graham on the first stage, and their first 3 stages were pretty good. They got a lot further than last year when unfortunately they found a tree. This year, however, it was going to be stage 4 and a broken drive shaft right off the start line. Unfortunately, that put them out of the rally. Well, at least it was an easy fix. Perhaps the most curious amongst the state was the Evo 9 of Ben Searcy and Damon Nicoli. They'd led the rally earlier on, however on stage 5 they had a fuel drama. On the remaining stages they booked in early and amassed a massive 24 minutes of penalties in an effort to get a better road position for the power stage. Tim and John were not having the greatest of rallies. Unfortunately, on the second leg they sheared some wheel studs and it took a little bit of time to sort that out. We had to get it done back in service. Back to the clubman, and the end of the second leg would also be the end of the clubman rally. Glenn and Max would take the XL to 4th place, a great drive on their first time on the slippery ball-bearing gravel. Another tidy drive for Mick O'Connor and Eden Hughes would bring their XL to 3rd. Damien and Gayton brought the Lancer to second place, and that was enough to seal the Clubman Series for the year as well. Well done, guys. Great effort on your very first season of rally. That left the Clubman win, and it went to Scott Bennett and Gavin Turner by 14 seconds in their Mitsubishi Lancer. The last service, and it was time for the state cars to go and tackle the final leg of 3 stages, and this time they'd be doing it in the dark. Amongst the state two-wheel drive competitors, it'd be Julian Wright and Jeff Huggins that would be third outright in their Datsun 1200. A pretty good effort considering they weren't even using pace notes. Second in two-wheel drive and ninth outright went to Gary Mills and Mitch Gray in their Ford Fiesta. Glenn Alcorn and John Charlson took their borrowed Mitsubishi Mirage to 7th outright and first two-wheel drive. This year's Safari would be Tim and John's first taste of a troubled rally, and whilst they had some dramas and lost a bit of time, they did finish the rally in 20th place.
Brake left 2 at 5. Left 2, 5 here. Not the only one.
We're on board here with Hugh and Karen, and earlier in the day that was a bit of an overshoot at one corner. They suffered with a couple of those during the day, however, it wasn't too bad a run. They finished the Safari in 14th place. The Safari had been a tough test. Here, Alex Rullo and Steve Glennie were having trouble with their Evo 7. On stage 8, they'd end up retiring. When the results were called after 9 stages, just over half the field had finished the rally. On the podium this year for the Safari was Tim Hiles and Morgan Ward. They brought their Legacy RS to 3rd place. Former state champions Gary Whittle and Ryan Doe brought their WRX to 2nd place. And that just left the top spot and outright winners. And it was Craig Rando and Scott Beckwith in their WRX this year. Uncannily, there was also 3 generations of Subaru on the podium. Hope you've enjoyed our video of the 2022 Safari Rally. The next rally and the final for the year is the Experts Cup at the end of October. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again soon. Cheers.